Hi again, it's Pete from Record. On my previous video with the BS250, I did an introduction as such to the machine to show you how to set the blade, fit blade, set the guides to suit to it, and also do the tracking on the machine. So a little bit of an introduction that way. So what we're looking to do now is finish off the assembly of the BS250, and to do that I've refitted the guards that I took off before, but on the bottom guides, put those back into place. So we're all set up and ready to go. What we need to do now is to actually fit the trunnion on and the table, and then square it up off the stop here to the blade with the use of a small square, and then set the table itself square to the blade, so as you can get some nice repeat straight cuts on there with the fence. So just those little applications. So what we first need to do is to fit the trunnion, and to do that you've got this little unit that actually sits in there. Before you put it on, this will come to you and it will have on it some transport grease and some light grease on there. You don't need too much of it. Just check it over first, smear that around a little bit, and also check to see if there's any bits in it so it's all nice and clean. So that should sit in there, and it moves up and down as you tilt your table. To keep that in place, there's a little Bristol lever here, and it's got a little kind of wedge in there, that's where it sits inside, and it's got this little bolt here. If you take those two pieces first, and what I find a little bit easier to do is to actually take the screw out of the lever itself, and what you'll find behind there is a little spring, so keep that separately, don't lose that. Otherwise you've got to do a little turn at a time to fit it on. And this is a little bit clumsome, so keep the spring on the screw and put that inside of there. And then you've got this little hexagon part here that's got a double thread in it. So one for the small screw and one for the larger, the bolted one. So that's what we've got with that. So what you need to do with that is we're going to pass that with the radius there down through the trunnion itself. So that will keep that in place. Just poke that through with your finger, and then that rides in there. So if you put the washer on and the little hexagon piece again with the larger part of the thread, keep your finger on there, put those two together, screw those in. So you can do that, and then reintroduce the little handle and the spring. Got a bit of grease on my finger so it's not picking up first time. There you go. Just take that in till it stops. Don't need to do it very tight, and that's your Bristol lever then for locking your trunnion up in place. So just having that's a little bit easier to do it that way. It's a little less cumbersome. So right, then I'm going to introduce the table onto here. You've got two options here. It's a small table, it's a convenient height, so what I can do is with the slot that's already in the table, pass the table over the top. If you don't feel comfortable from that, take the blade off, detension it, put the table on. Well, what you're doing, you're going to rest on there, and we're going to rest on the stop, so it's not going to go anywhere, it's going to be quite secure. So basically I want that sort of kind of at the 0 point. I can lock that off, then I know it's going to rest on there. So before I put the table on, this comes well preserved. It's got a lot of oil and grease on there for transport. So because there's a cast table, you don't want it to be going tainted or whatever like that. So I've cleaned it off, but also then I'll put a little bit of microcrystalline wax over the table, just so it's all nice and smooth, and also so as I don't taint it with the grease in my skin, so I don't leave little witness marks all over it. So I've checked that out. It's clean underneath, and I've bolted everything off. Note also I've taken the table insert out. So what I could do now is just gently pass that over and sit that on there. So that's resting on the stop and it's resting on the bracket, so it's not really going to go there. And then in your bits and pieces you'll find some hexagon bolts, little 6mm hexagon bolts, and 4 little star washers as well. So they actually hold the table in situ. This is probably the figgliest bit now, is introducing those bolts on and just sliding the table over so they line up. Maybe poke a hole, screwdriver or something, just to find the first hole. Start you off. That's the first one in, so we're away. Just do it up finger tight for this time being. Same on the next one. Put that one in. Again, just finger tight. We've got one around the back of here as well. We've got 2 more in the back. And lastly, the last one. Take a bit of your lock off. Tilt your table up and put your screw in. Excuse the back of my head for a bit. That's all 4 screws in. Before you put the table down, just give them a little nip up. Don't knock them down solid yet. Because we've got 2 or 3 little setting little things going on first before we lock everything down. Put that down onto the stop. Do these 2. Pinch those up. So now I've got a bit of movement on the table itself. So what I can look to do then is first set myself square off here to the blade. I've got a nut and screw on there. So if I put my hand on there, take the tool all the way, I can bring that across. Put a little bit of pressure on there and see where I'm sitting. It's not too far off, so I can just adjust that a little bit. And just pinch the table off. Again, at the moment, don't lock that down solid. Right, we've got the first bits going. Turn the table around so you can get a better access to it. You've got your table inserts, which are popped out. Give that a clean. Again, what we're looking to do with this is put that in and gently press it down. If you press it down too far, sometimes it goes right down below the surface. But what I'm looking to do on this is set this up so as table insert is central to the blade or thereabouts. What I don't want to do is when I'm tilting the table on, it's going to rub on the side of it or it's going to be out of skew. So basically I just want that across. So I'll just put a bit of lock on there first. One thing I need is a nylon mallet. Just give that a little tap across. When we're putting the table on, basically what we're working off is this front face. I'll take the slot lock off again. Should be able to see the slot that's in the table. So this face has been machined here where the fence rail sits on. So what I'm looking to do is that square to the face. So I want whatever sits across here to be square to the blade. So I need to adjust the table to suit. It won't just fit on there and be correct. So you've got to spend a few moments setting it up. So this is the actual fence carrier. So that sits against the fence table here. So that goes against there. So if that's square, then likelihood is my fence is going to be square. So I want the table to be square through there. So I need to fit that on. That's held in place with these two of these little 6mm Bakelite type nods and a washer. And at the extreme of the table you've got two tapped holes on each side. So those go in there. And that goes in there. Also you'll find a little locking knob again, a 6mm cap screw this time, and a washer. So that sits between the table, and that basically locks the table faces together so it can confirms the faces. If you don't fit this, what could happen in variations of temperature or just general usage is that the table faces are not square. So what you'll get then is if you pass something straight across it, like this, you have a lip one way or the other. And that's what that's for. So it keeps those pinched up together. So that should be smooth then through there. Right. So now I can introduce this. My faces are clean, so I've got no debris on there making that can misalign this. So then I'll set that on there. I'm trying to keep that in contact with the face, or pushed against it as best as I can. You'll note on the scale there's a scale as well, so you've got 0 and to 160, something like that. It's a rough guide, so as you put a fence on, you can 0 that up to the blade if you want, but the next time you change your blade it's going to be a different position because there's a little bit of movement in here. So that's a rough one. So if you were putting on a piece of timber or something like that, you measured it off a scale, off your own rule or whatever, then the best thing to do is to actually set it up to that tape or rule or whatever you used. Because there might be variation on there. But that's a rough guide to where you are on it. It's not absolutely precise. So it's worth keeping that in mind. Let's just pinch that up a little bit. So the fence, coming to put the fence on. This is a little unit. It can be used in a couple of different ways. You've got two little locking knobs on the back of there. And what that allows you to do is take that out and you can use it in different sections. So you've got the main rip part, or if you're doing small work you can work down, bring the guides right down so as you're close to it without leaving a large part of blade exposed above. So we're fitting that on, it hooks in the back and it slides into there. You've got a little locking lever here, and what you do with that is you can adjust that to suit the tension of your lock. So now I'm pulled in off the back of there, so I'm nice and firm on there. In this instance what I'm going to do is use the smaller section to set the table up to the blade. So that allows me now to move that across. I'm locking down off there, so in theory I should be square off there. So what I can do then is use a rule or a nice little small straight edge, anything. Same as what we've done before. The teeth of the blade have got a set on there, so we've got a tuft to the left, tuft to the right, and a parallel tuft. So what I'm looking to do again is find a parallel tuft to set up off the rule, bring that down and line the rule off there. This is much better done with a wider blade. It just gives you a bigger bearing area against whatever you're going to use to scale. So now I can bring the fence across and see where my error is. One way or the other I'm going to have a lead, I'm going to have to adjust it. So the moment it's showing, I've got a wider gap here and a shorter gap there. So this needs to come round this way. Check the table. Move that across a little bit more first. Get that about central. So if you've done those bolts up tight underneath, you're not going to be able to do anything. That's why I said just nip them. You've got those star washers on there anyway, so they're going to hold a little bit anyway. So it's not going to be bouncing backwards and forwards. So you just want to do it so you can make some adjustments on it. But the theory is you're going to set it up off there. And this might take you a few minutes to do, but it doesn't really matter, just get it right. Take your time doing it. Also again, because you've got a band you put on here, check it in a couple of places first. Move the rule out of the way so it'll catch the teeth on it. Spin it around a couple of times. And check your position. Well, that's not bad at all, just a little bit. So it's a little bit fiddly with a small blade, but just take your time and you'll do it. So what I can do there, just to start off, what I'll do before I lock them all down is just pinch the one off in the one corner, pinch the other one off in the other corner. So it's got those star washers on there anyway. It's worth checking a couple of times. And the acid test is, when you've got it set up like this, don't think you're completely finished straight away. Get a bit of timber that you can do a test cut on. Check your fence and everything else. But before you sort of finish off, do a cut on it, confirm that it's square. What you want is a piece that sits actually square to the fence and the table, so as you're not fighting against an angle in the first place. But then get something softish, just to do, because the blade that comes with it is okay, and it'll do most stuff anyway. So we put like a general purpose blade on there because we don't actually know what you're going to be doing first off. So do a cut on it, try it. Then if you can see it wants tweaking one way or the other, just do so. But then you should be in the ballpark then that you've got like a little square setup, and all you want to do really is be able to cut nice and square off a machine. So then start locking stuff up solid. Lock this one up. Down onto the stop, lock that up again. So nice and firm. So by eye that doesn't look too bad now. But that's not doing a cut on it. So the last thing I want to check now, I'm happy with that, is to take that back off again and just reintroduce my square. And just square table up to the stop now. So what I want to do, just take the lock off that a little bit, so as I can move it. Put it down onto the stop. I need to come up just a fraction, so take the lock off again. Just adjust it gently. I'm looking for that to be right up against the blade, and I'm going to need daylight through the top of the stop. That's it. Just take the carrier off again. Take it back down to the stop. Him up. I'm okay through there. So that's his table set up now. It's nice and square, the fence is set up. The table insert is in the centre of there, so when I move the table, when I do some cuts, I'm not going to be rubbing on the one side of the insert to wear it away. So all I've got to do now is fit my other bits and pieces. So you will have in your kit a little dome screw like this and a nut, and that goes on the end of the machine, and that's to carry your push stick. And that's the same on all of our bandsaws. Around about the top of the body here you'll find that. So that locates up there. You'll have a mitre fence in there which goes in your slot here. Again, with a wider blade it's a lot easier to actually square this up. This has been put together by the factory. It's got a little pointer on there and a little screw. Don't take that as gospel first time. Slacken it off, we're up to the blade and check it off there. Like I say, it's a lot easier with a wider blade. So you can just move that across, set it up on there, and pinch that off. Do that each time you use it. I religiously do it each time, because if you got it set up wrong, it's going to produce those cuts for you anyway. Always, when you're changing fences over and then reintroducing them, always keep them clean as well. So if you've got no debris between the two faces, so that will throw you out as well on your cuts. Again, this one with the small section on there, if you're doing small work down here, what you can do is just bring the tool arm right down and lock it off. You've just got the minimum exposed blade over your job. Like I did on the table, when I put the table on, I cleaned it off and I put a bit of microcrystalline on the table just so as things transfer across, so it takes that roughness out of the table. Maintenance wise on a bandsaw, just keep it clean. You've got the extraction port that we pointed out in the last video fitted on the back, so you can either put it straight to a 100mm 4-inch piece of ducting or piping and work a system out, or you can put in an adapter into there. Occasionally when you're changing your blade, taking everything off, give the machine a clean out inside. and got a little tough brush or something like that, just clean the rack and everything else that's in there. Just get that debris out of it, hoover it out. And same down below, clean around your glides and keep this blade drive belt clean, because when you're cutting, all the debris is going to be floating around in here anyway. Even with a good extractor on, you're still going to get bits of waste in there, and it's going to get into this drive belt, and it's a little poly V belt. Keep it clean, because when you least expect it, it's going to go when you want to actually use the thing. It's even worthwhile, I think, I do on mine, is to keep a spare. Then if the belt does go, they will petrify with age, they'll get old and they will go. You've always got a spare on it. Your mechanism at the top for your tensioning and your tracking, keep that clean. Occasionally what you want to do is just a little bit of dry silicone spray or something when you're finishing off whatever you're doing for a day. Before you've hoovered it out, before you shut up and you leave, just give it a little spray onto the mechanism, shut the doors. Down here, it just wants keeping clean to really. You don't want to put any lubricants on there. You've got a little brush on the bottom here, that's for cleaning the wheels. Also, when you take the bandsaw blade off itself, take the blade off and everything else before you put the new one on. Just get one of these pads and just give your tyres a little clean. It'll get some of the resin off and dust off there. It's the same down below, but so you need to take the blade off first before you do it, and that'll help to keep a longer life in the machine altogether. And I think that just about covers it. On the next series of videos we've got planned, I'm going to do a little bit on one of the little lathes, a DML 305, and also we've got planned to do a little sort of spring clean of my bandsaw here, which I've my old BS250. I've had this many years, served me really well. It's due a good overall, so what I do with that, I do the tables, I may change the drive belt or check the condition of it, and I think I've got a couple of bearings that need a little bit of attention. I think they're getting a little bit dry and old, so they might need changing. So we'll catch up with you soon. Hope that's been some use to you. If you guys have got any queries about or questions, please send them through to us and we'll try our best to answer them. And in the meantime, take care and we'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.